Hey my dudes, let's make a wedding cake, and this is part 2. Now that all the elements have been made, I can focus on building the cake. I started by getting everything ready. I chopped candied hazelnuts. I left them quite chunky, but I didn't want to leave them completely whole, and then I whipped up the namalaka until it was fluffy. Then I re-whipped the Swiss meringue buttercream. You always have to do this, and I wanted to make sure mine was really nice and smooth before slapping it on the cake, so I also heated it up a bit with a hairdryer. I started with the bottom tier. I spread a little bit of buttercream on the cake board so it would stick, and then spread on a layer of the whipped namalaka. I had made a standard size batch of nama, which gave me like 800 grams, and I had calculated how much I should spread on each layer to distribute that like evenly, but it turned out it was way too much, so I have namalaka to spare. On top of each layer of nama, I sprinkled a lot of the chopped hazelnuts, and then I piped a fat line of buttercream around the outside to hold it all in. I was a bit nervous because the cakes I make are really pretty moist, and the namalaka is pretty like wet, much wetter than say a buttercream or a ganache. This is also why you don't see me using any type of soak, and I typically don't do that. I've always kind of felt like if the cake layer is moist and the filling is moist, why are we adding moisture to the cake with a soak? Like, I totally get it with one of the aforementioned fillings is they don't let any moisture to the cake, but like having a dry cake was not going to be a problem today. I did the exact same thing on all tiers, just building and filling and stacking and crumb coating, and once all three were in the fridge, I re-whipped some more buttercream and it was time for the hard part, actually frosting the cakes. I've talked about this before, but for whatever reason, I've always had a really hard time getting my cakes completely smooth. I think I whipped too much air into my buttercream, so there's like lots of little bubbles, and then I'm so scared of it melting or separating, I don't take the buttercream warm enough to get it really like smooth. I see cake girls on Instagram and their buttercream is so soft and just like a step above soupy, but it goes on so smooth. But I felt like all of these tiers were good enough for a government job, so I put them in the fridge to chill overnight. In the morning, I took out my base tier and placed it on the final cake board. I could have done this yesterday, but it felt easier to move around on the thinner cake board yesterday. I don't know what I'm doing. Then I added the dowels. This is what actually carries the weight of the other cake tiers. Without this, once the cake was room temp, the whole thing would just collapse. I put on the second tier and then put the dowels into that and then added the top tier and adjusted a little bit. This is the inspo pic that I got from the client, so pretty straightforward piping. In the picture, there are what looked like fondant balls around the edge, so I decided to do a ruffled border with a star tip as I thought that would look better than trying to do like round dollops. Then I piped a bunch of just like dots and curved lines in like a line around each tier. I was just trying my best to copy the photo. This took a long time, but it turned out really cute, I think. Then instead of roses, I had gotten marigolds from Cube Greens here in Stockholm. They sell exclusively edible flowers and lettuces grown right here in the city, and they always have the greatest flowers for me. I just kind of went nuts with the flowers and added some leaves. I think it was pretty cute. I put it in a box to make transport easier, and then the bride came and picked up the cake, and that was that. Hej då!